Hey folks, Matt Easton here, Scholar Gladiatorian. Now, a little while ago I hosted Jay Maas on my channel here from Broadsword Academy Manitoba in Canada, and Jay had some interesting things to say about these things, basket hilts. So obviously I've spoken quite a bit in the past about basket hilted swords, but I'm not a specialist in the sources of these, although some of the sources I study do touch on these, and I have studied some of the broadsword and backsword sources, but Jay pretty much specialises in these things. He does also look at sabre and spadroon and I think smallsword as well sources. But one of the things that has often come up in question is about these two, what should we call them, kind of rings, not quite rings, kind of bars, let's call them bars, extensions to the hilt, which do persist on 19th century examples of these broadswords. Of which this is one, incidentally. This is a mid-19th century, probably 1850s, 1860s Highland broadsword. And we find these bars really quite early on. There's even a sort of, almost a kind of early form, a proto-form perhaps, on the Mary Rose sword from 1545. But going right the way through the 16th century and 17th centuries, these bars persist and into the 18th and 19th centuries. And they do, admittedly, perhaps in the 19th century become something that's there just because that's how they're made. You know, we will keep making them like this because that's how they're made. Or maybe not. Maybe they did know why they were there, but I've never found it in a 19th century source. But what Jay's going to show here now is a bunch of techniques which are used with the Highland broadsword, should we call it, but basically any basket hilted sword which has these on. So that could be English, Scottish, Irish, and not just those bars, but the fact that you have a full basket as well. And now, on a superficial level, I've perhaps spoken about the use of the advantages and disadvantages of baskets, the fact that it brings added weight to the sword, added mass, but it gives you a lot more protection. Perhaps it kind of restricts certain movements of the hand. Some people would argue with that. I do personally think that is the case, but I know some people disagree. You know, I've spoken about these kind of general topics about the basket, but what we're going to see now here from Jay and two of his buddies from the Broadsword Academy of Manitoba is we're actually going to see some techniques, some plays taken from the manuals, from the treatises, which actually use the basket hilted broadsword or backsword, and he's going to show you and explain how the hilt is useful in those specific techniques, and how they enhance those techniques, and in some cases even make those techniques possible, and specifically these rings or bars at the front, how they are advantageous to have there in these specific techniques. So I'm going to hand you over now to Jay, and enjoy the rest of the video. Cheers, folks.
Hey everybody, Jay here from Broadsword Academy Manitoba. I'm here with my friend Jacques and Wyatt, who are both assistant instructors at Broadsword Academy Manitoba. And today we're going to teach you a little bit about how to use the basket. Continuing on with the previous video, we're going to show it to you how we fence with it at the gym or how we practice technique.
Okay, so the first technique here is called forcing the blade. All I'm going to do is extend the arm outwards. I'm going to catch his blade on the forward guard of my sword. So that doesn't put a ton of force on it, but it's going to show you a little bit about how the techniques work in the future. This one is just a straight cut to the arm. We're going to show the defense to that though. This is a really common attack in broadsword fencing, and it's probably the safest attack you can make against your opponent. So the parry with that uses the forward guard of the basket. All I'm going to do is turn my hand slightly. You can see there's not much motion there. That's the cut to the outside. So I just turn my hand slightly, receive it on the forward guard, and that sets me up for a really good riposte or a counter. This one's showing the counter to the arm. So he makes the attack, and instead of riposting to the inside line as I typically would, what I'm doing instead is I'm making the same cut as him and hitting him on the arm with it. So because I've opposed my basket, I can do that safely. This is the same thing being shown from the inside now. So I turn my basket and oppose it and make a counter cut at his arm. This one's showing the same thing done to the head. The difference is here is that I'm going to withdraw the arm slightly as I make the parry, and I'm going to riposte or counter to the head. It depends how it happens. It can either come as a riposte after or a single time counter. This is it shown from the inside, so I'm using that same motion of turning the basket, but I'm withdrawing the arm slightly and springing it forward to hit him in the face. So this one is one that can be used with the forward guard or the blade to parry. So what I'm doing here is from the spadroon guard as an invitation, turning my hand, parrying the blow, and then I'm cutting him with a traverse to the inside of his arm. This one is what's used to defend against a cut 3. I'm going to sink the basket down, and this can be received on the basket or also on the fort of the sword. It's usually going to get trapped right in between the fort. So my riposte from here is a cut 2. You can see how that gives you the line. This can be made as a pushing cut or as a drawing cut to give it a little extra power. If he raises his arm at all, like so after his cut, that's when you hit him underneath with a cut number 3 instead. So those are my 2 options for the riposte.
All right, so that was our demonstration of technique that we're showing on how to use the basket. A few things to close up. First of all, if you're in North America or if you want to fly to North America, come visit us in Canada. In Winnipeg, we're doing a special event that's called Broadsword 2019. It's a free event. Everybody can come to it here in Winnipeg. And we're going to have a weekend of all the different broadsword instructors that we could get a hold of. Guys like Paul Wagner are going to be there, as well as Jonathan McKenzie-Gordon, Robert Brooks, a whole bunch of other guys, myself included. So if you want to fight me, if you disagree with everything I say and you hate me, come on down, come give it a go. But also if you want to learn from me, I'm going to be teaching some classes there, and that's the best way to get a hold of me if you're from out of town. The other thing I want to show you is if you're interested in learning more about broadsword, check out Lessons of the Broadsword Masters by Chris Thompson. This is our most up-to-date book that we use for the Cataran Society. So if you're on your own, there's no broadsword schools around you, join our online program. It's called the Cataran Society Online Program. It's a group on Facebook. You can join free of charge, and there's a bunch of experienced instructors that will coach you, help your club to get going, and help you get started.
So I hope that was interesting for you guys. I know that you're always asking me for more instructional videos, and here you get one courtesy of Jay rather than of me. But so thank you very, very much to Jay and his buddies from the Broadsword Academy Manitoba. There's a link to their YouTube and website below here if you want to find out more. And as Jay mentioned, he's also a member of the Cataran Society, and that's maybe something, if you're interested in these sorts of swords and these sort of sources, something else you want to check out. Anyway, thanks for watching, and go and give Jay's channel a like if you haven't already, and subscribe to it. And I will see you again soon for another video from Scholar Gladiatoria. Cheers, folks! Thanks for watching. We've got extra videos on Patreon. Please give our Facebook a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Cheers, folks!